I found a receipt in my wife's car. Just a piece of paper from some motel I'd never heard of. 2 drinks, 1 bourbon, 1 cosmopolitan. She told me she was at a client dinner that night. She doesn't drink bourbon. That's when I knew. And what I did next. They never saw it coming. My name is Dalton Mercer. I'm 42 years old, and I run a roofing company here in Tennessee. Started it from nothing 12 years ago. Built it into something solid. Commercial jobs, residential projects, the works. I'm the kind of guy who believes in hard work, loyalty, and keeping your word. My old man taught me that. He was a roofer too, spent 30 years on ladders before his knees gave out. He always said a man's reputation is all he's got. I met Marissa 14 years ago at a mutual friend's barbecue. She was standing by the grill, laughing at something, and I couldn't look away. Dark hair, bright eyes, and this energy that just pulled you in. She worked in event management back then, always organizing something, always on the move. We got married 2 years later. Life was good. We bought a house in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy but ours. No kids, though we talked about it. Marissa wanted to focus on her career, and I didn't push. Then about 3 months ago, things started to shift. Small things at first. She started working late more often. New clothes appeared in her closet. She spent more time on her phone, always keeping it face down when I walked into the room. I told myself it was work stress. Her company was growing. She had bigger clients now. I want to believe her. It was a Saturday morning when everything changed. I was cleaning out Marissa's car in the driveway. She treated that thing like a mobile storage unit. Coffee cups, receipts, makeup scattered everywhere. I was just trying to help, you know? Be a good husband. That's when I found it. A receipt, crumpled up under the passenger seat. Riverside Inn, it said across the top. 2 drinks. 1 bourbon, 1 cosmopolitan. Thursday night, 9:15 p.m. I stood there holding that piece of paper, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Thursday night, Marissa had told me she was at a client dinner downtown. Some big corporate event that was running late. She texted me around 8:30, saying not to wait up. Marissa didn't drink bourbon. Never had. I folded the receipt carefully and slid it into my pocket. My hand was steady, but my mind was racing. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe she met a client there. Maybe it was nothing. But I knew better. I knew exactly what this was. I didn't confront Marissa that day. I put the receipt in my workshop, locked in a drawer where she'd never look. Then I went back inside and acted like nothing had changed. She was in the kitchen making lunch, humming along to something on the radio. When I walked in, she smiled at me. That same smile I'd fallen for all those years ago. "How's the car?" Marissa asked, pulling plates from the cabinet. "Clean now," I said, keeping my voice steady. "You really need to stop treating it like a dumpster." She laughed. I know. Thank you, babe." She kissed my cheek. It felt hollow. Over the next few days, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. The kind of attention I should have been paying for months. Thursday nights. That's when I noticed the pattern. For the past 2 months, almost every Thursday, Marissa had a late meeting or a client dinner or some work emergency that kept her out until 10 or 11 at night. She'd come home looking tired, claiming she was exhausted from schmoozing clients. But now I saw it differently. The way she'd shower immediately when she got home. The way she kept her phone in her purse instead of leaving on the counter like she used to. The new perfume she'd started wearing. I checked our credit card statements online. Nothing obvious jumped out at first. Marissa was smart about it. But then I noticed charges at restaurants I'd never heard of. Gas stations on the other side of town, nowhere near her office. Small purchases at stores that didn't make sense. Then there was her appearance. Marissa had always taken care of herself. But lately it was different. New dresses hanging in her closet. She'd started getting her hair done every 3 weeks instead of every 2 months. Her nails were always perfect now. I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe she just wanted to look good for work. Maybe she was trying to impress new clients. But I knew better. Tuesday evening, I was in the garage working on an estimate when my younger brother Bryce stopped by. He worked for me, running one of my roofing crews. Good kid, reliable, but he'd always had a soft spot for Marissa. "Hey, Dal," Bryce said, walking in with a 6-pack. "Thought you could use a beer." I took one and leaned against my workbench. Bryce looked around, then back at me. "Everything okay?" he asked. "You seem off lately." I almost told him. Almost showed him the receipt and asked what he thought. But something stopped me. "Just work stress," I said instead. "Big commercial project coming up. Bryce nodded, but his eyes lingered on me like he didn't quite believe it. Marissa around? He asked. Working late again, I said, watching his reaction. He looked away quickly. Too quickly. She's been doing that a lot lately, hasn't she? Bryce said, his voice careful. I set down my beer. What do you mean? Nothing, man. Bryce said, shaking his head. Just an observation. But the way he said it made my stomach tighten. Did Bryce know something? Had he seen something? I didn't push it. Not then. But I filed it away in my mind with everything else. That night, Marissa came home at 10:30. She kissed me hello, told me about her exhausting day, then went upstairs to shower. I sat on the couch, listening to the water run, knowing exactly what I had to do next. I needed proof. Real proof. Not just a receipt and a gut feeling. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I called Earl Briggs on Monday morning. Earl was a private investigator, former cop who'd spent 25 years on the force before retiring and going private. I met him a few years back when he did background checks for some of my larger commercial contracts. He was thorough, discreet, and he didn't ask questions he didn't need answers to. We met at a diner on the edge of town, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and waitresses who'd been there since the 80s. Earl was already sitting in a corner booth when I arrived, nursing a black coffee. Dalton, Earl said, nodding as I slid in across from him. He was 55, built like a bulldog, with gray hair buzzed short and eyes that didn't miss much. Earl, I said, thanks for meeting me. You sounded serious on the phone. Earl said, leaning back. What's going on? I pulled out the receipt and set it on the table between us. Earl picked it up, studied it for a moment, then looked at me. Your wife? He asked. Yeah, I said. Thursday night. She told me she was at a client dinner downtown. Earl set the receipt down. Riverside is 40 minutes from downtown. I know. You wanted to follow her? Earl asked. I want to know the truth, I said. If she's cheating, I need proof. Photos, timestamps, everything. Earl nodded slowly. This isn't going to be cheap, Dalton. And once you know, you can't unknow it. I understand, I said. How much? $2,000 up front, plus expenses, Earl said. I'll tail her, document everything, get you a full report. I didn't hesitate. Do it. Earl pulled out a small notepad. I'll need some information. Her schedule, vehicle description, usual routes. I gave him everything. Marissa's work hours, her car make and model, the nights she typically stayed late. Earl took notes, asked a few clarifying questions, then tucked the notepad away. I'll start Thursday, Earl said. That seems to be her pattern. It is, I said. Earl finished his coffee and stood up. Dalton, one more thing. If she is cheating, what are you planning to do? I looked him straight in the eye. Whatever it takes to protect myself. Earl nodded. Good. Too many guys I work for fall apart when they get the proof. They cry, they beg, they let their wives walk all over them. You don't strike me as that type. I'm not, I said, and I meant it. Thursday came. I went to work like normal, ran my crews, handled estimates, checked on job sites. But my mind was somewhere else. I knew Earl was out there, watching, waiting. Marissa texted me at 6:30 that evening. Big client meeting tonight. Going to run late. Don't wait up. I stared at the text for a long moment, then replied, no problem. Good luck with the meeting. She sent back a heart emoji. I sat in my truck in the parking lot of job site, phone in my hand, that heart emoji burning into my brain. Around 9:30, my phone buzzed. A text from Earl. She's at the Riverside Inn. Black Audi pulled up 10 minutes ago. Male, early 40s tall. They went inside together. Room 118. My hands tightened around the phone. Another text came through. Getting photos now. We'll have everything documented. I didn't respond. I just sat there, engine off, staring at the windshield. Part of me wanted to drive over there right then. Kick down the door. Confront them both. But that wasn't the play. Not yet. I needed everything documented. I needed leverage. At 11:15, Earl sent another text. Subject leaving now. Mail left 20 minutes ago. She's heading home. Full report tomorrow. I drove home, pulled into the garage, and walked inside. I poured myself a bourbon and sat in the dark living room, waiting. Marissa walked in at 11:40. She looked tired, her hair slightly messed up. She smiled when she saw me. Hey babe, Marissa said. You waited up? Couldn't sleep, I said, taking a sip of bourbon. How was the meeting? Exhausting, she said, dropping her purse on the counter. but productive. I think we landed the account. That's great, I said, my voice even. She walked over and kissed my forehead. I'm going to shower and crash. Long day. I watched her walk upstairs, heard the bathroom door close, heard the water start running. I finished my bourbon in one swallow. Tomorrow, I'd see the photos. Tomorrow, I'd know everything. And then I'd decide exactly how to destroy her. Friday morning, Earl called me at 7. I was already at the office, going over payroll, try to keep my mind busy. Dalton, it's Earl, he said. I've got everything. You want to meet? Where? I asked. Same place as before. 1 hour. I drove to the diner, my hand steady on the wheel. No shaking, no panic. Just cold focus. Earl was waiting in the same corner booth. A manila folder, sitting on the table in front of him. I slid in across from him, and he pushed the folder toward me. It's all in there, Earl said quietly. Photos, timestamps, license plate of the other vehicle. Everything you asked for. I opened the folder. The first photo hit me like a punch to the gut. Marissa, standing outside room 118 at the Riverside Inn, smiling up at a man I'd never seen before. Tall, well-dressed, confident. The next photo showed them walking into the room together, his hand on the small of her back. I flipped through more images. Timestamps show they were inside for 2 hours. Then photos of him leaving first, adjusting his tie. Then Marissa, 20 minutes later, checking her phone as she walked to her car. I ran the plates, Earl said. The car belongs to Drake Tillman. Ring any bells? The name hit me like ice water. Yeah, I said slowly. He's my business partner. Earl's expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in his eyes. Your business partner? We started the roofing company together 5 years ago. I said, my voice flat. 50-50 split. He handles the commercial contracts. I handle residential and operations. Jesus, Earl muttered. I closed the folder, my jaw tight. Drake. Of all people, Drake. The guy I trusted with half my business. The guy I'd invited to my house for barbecues. The guy who'd sat at my dinner table and shaken my hand. There's more, Earl said. I did some digging into his background. Drake Tillman is married. Wife's name is Nicole. They've got 2 kids, 8 and 10 years old. I looked up at him. He's married. Yeah, Earl said. Lives about 30 miles north of here. Nice house, white picket fence, the whole deal. So Drake was destroying 2 families, not just mine. I need copies of everything, I said. Digital and physical. Earl nodded. Already done. USB drive is in the folder, and I've emailed encrypted files to the address you gave me. I pulled out my checkbook and wrote him a check for the full amount, plus 1,000 extra. That's more than we agreed, Earl said. You did good work, I said, standing up. I appreciate it. Earl stood too, extending his hand. Dalton, whatever you're planning to do, be smart about it. Don't do anything that'll land you in jail. I shook his hand. I won't. But I'm going to make sure they both regret this for the rest of their lives. I walked out of that diner with the folder under my arm, climbed into my truck, and sat there for a long moment. Drake Tillman, my business partner, the man who'd helped me build everything I had. He'd been sleeping with my wife. And now, I was going to take everything from both of them. I didn't go to the office that day. I drove to a quiet park, sat at a picnic table, and spread out everything Earl had given me. Photos, timestamps, vehicle records. I studied every detail, committing it all to memory. Drake Tillman, 44 years old, married with 2 kids. My business partner for 5 years. The betrayal went deeper than just Marissa. Drake had access to our company accounts, our client lists, our contracts. If he'd betray me like this, what else had he been doing behind my back? I pulled out my phone and called my accountant, a woman named Patricia who'd been handling our books since we started the company. Patricia, it's Dalton Mercer, I said when she answered. Dalton, hi, Patricia said. What can I do for you? I need you to go through every transaction in the company accounts for the last 6 months, I said. Every withdrawal, every transfer, everything Drake had access to. I need a full audit. There was a pause. Is there a problem? I don't know yet, I said. That's what I'm trying to find out. Can you have that ready by Monday? I'll do my best, Patricia said. Should I let Drake know about this? No, I said firmly. Don't tell Drake anything. This stays between you and me. Understood, Patricia said. I hung up and made my next call. Fletcher Kane, a divorce attorney I'd heard about through a contractor friend who'd gone through a rough split. Fletcher had a reputation for being aggressive and thorough. Fletcher Kane's office, a receptionist answered. I need to schedule a consultation with Mr. Kane, I said. It's urgent. Can I get your name? Dalton Mercer. And what is this regarding? Divorce, I said. And I need it handled fast. She put me on hold for a moment, then came back. Mr. Kane can see you Monday morning at 9. Does that work? Perfect, I said. I hung up and sat back, staring at the photos spread out in front of me. Marissa thought she was being clever. Drake thought he was getting away with it, but they had no idea what was coming. I wasn't going to yell or cry or beg for explanations. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. I was going to dismantle their lives piece by piece, systematically and without mercy, starting with the business, then the house, then the money. And when I was done, they'd both be left with nothing. I gathered up the photos, put them back in the folder, and drove home. Marissa was in the kitchen when I walked in, making dinner like it was just another Friday night. Hey babe, she said brightly. How was your day? Productive, I said, setting my keys down. Very productive. She smiled at me, completely oblivious. Perfect. Monday morning, I met with Fletcher Kane at his office downtown. It was a sleek place, all glass and dark wood, the kind of office that told you the guy knew what he was doing. Fletcher was 47, sharp-dressed, with the kind of presence that filled a room. He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. Mr. Mercer, Fletcher said, shaking my hand. Tell me what we're dealing with. I laid out everything. The receipt, the surveillance photos, Drake being my business partner, the whole mess. Fletcher listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Do you have a prenuptial agreement? Yes, I said. We signed one before we got married. The house was mine before the marriage. The business was mine before the marriage. Everything's protected. Fletcher smiled slightly. That makes this easier. With infidelity documented and a prenup in place, we can move quickly. She'll get minimal assets, possibly just her personal belongings and whatever she brought into the marriage. What about the business? I asked. Since it was established before marriage and there's a prenup, she has no claim to it, Fletcher said. However, we need to address Drake Tillman. He's your business partner. 50-50 split, I said. We formed the LLC together 5 years ago. Fletcher tapped his pen on the desk. That complicates things, but it's manageable. We'll need to review your partnership agreement. If there's a morality clause or any clause about conduct detrimental to the business, we can use that. I want him out, I said. Completely out. We'll work on it, Fletcher said. Now, let's talk about the timeline. I recommend we file immediately. We'll freeze joint accounts, secure assets, and serve her with papers before she has time to react. How soon can we move? I asked. Papers can be filed by Wednesday, Fletcher said. She'll be served by Friday at the latest. I nodded. Do it. As I left Fletcher's office, my phone rang. It was Avery, Marissa's younger sister. That was unusual. Avery and I got along fine, but she rarely called me directly. Dalton, Avery said when I answered. Her voice sounded strained. We need to talk. Can you meet me somewhere? When? I asked. Now, she said. It's important. We met at a park near her apartment. Avery was 34, looked a lot like Marissa, but with darker hair and a quieter demeanor. She was sitting on a bench when I arrived, looking nervous. What's going on, Avery? I asked, sitting down next to her. She took a deep breath. I know about Marissa. My stomach tightened. Know about what? The affair, Avery said quietly. I've known for about a month. I saw her at a restaurant with him. I confronted her, and she admitted it. She made me promise not to tell you. I stared at her, and you kept that promise. I know, Avery said, her eyes welling up. I know I should have told you immediately. I've been sick about it, Dalton. I couldn't sleep. That's why I'm telling you now. I can't keep lying for her. I took a slow breath, processing this. Who else knows? Just me, as far as I know, Avery said. But Dalton, there's more. Marissa's been talking to a lawyer. She's planning something. My jaw tightened. What kind of something? I don't know the details, Avery said. But I heard her on the phone last week. She was talking about assets, about protecting herself. I think she knows you might find out, and she's getting ready. So Marissa was planning her own move. That changed things. There's something else, Avery said, hesitating. Marissa told me she's pregnant. The world seemed to stop for a moment. Pregnant, I repeated. She said she just found out 2 weeks ago. Avery said. But Dalton, I don't know if it's yours. Given everything that's happening, I thought you needed to know. I sat there, feeling like I'd been punched in the chest. Pregnant. Either it was mine, or it was Drake's. And given the timeline, I had no way of knowing for sure. Thank you for telling me, I said finally. Avery reached over and squeezed my hand. I'm sorry, Dalton. I'm so sorry about all of this. Marissa's my sister, but what she's doing is wrong. You deserve better. I drove straight back to Fletcher's office. His secretary tried to stop me, but I walked past her and into his office. Fletcher looked up from his desk, surprised. Dalton, she's pregnant, I said, and she's already talking to a lawyer. Fletcher's expression hardened. Sit down. Tell me everything. Patricia, my accountant, called me Tuesday afternoon. I was at a job site, inspecting a commercial roof installation, when my phone buzzed. Dalton, we need to talk, Patricia said, her voice tight. I found something. I'm on my way, I said. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in her office, watching as she pulled up spreadsheets on her computer. I went through every transaction like you asked, Patricia said, and I found discrepancies. Money has been moving out of the business account into a separate account that I didn't know existed. How much? I asked. Over the last 6 months. About $150,000, Patricia said. My hands balled into fists. Drake. The transfers were authorized by him, Patricia said. The account is under an LLC name I've never seen before. Tillman Consulting Services. So Drake had been stealing from me, from our company, while sleeping with my wife. Can we prove it? I asked. Absolutely, Patricia said. I have every transaction documented. This is embezzlement, Dalton. You could press charges. I sat back, my mind racing. Drake hadn't just betrayed me personally. He'd been robbing the business we'd built together. Send everything to Fletcher Kane, I said. My attorney. He needs to see this immediately. Already done, Patricia said. I sent it over an hour ago. I called Fletcher from my truck. I just saw Patricia's report, Fletcher said when he answered. This changes everything. Drake Tillman isn't just your wife's affair partner. He's committed a crime. What are my options? I asked. We can file criminal charges for embezzlement, Fletcher said. Or we can use this as leverage to force him out of the business entirely. Sign over his half, walk away with nothing, or face prosecution. I want him out, I said. And I want my money back. Consider it done, Fletcher said. I'll have papers drawn up by tomorrow. But Dalton, we need to move fast. If Drake suspects anything, he might try to move more money or destroy evidence. That night, Marissa came home at her usual time. She was acting normal, cheerful even. She kissed me hello and started talking about her day like nothing was wrong. How was work? Marissa asked, pouring herself a glass of wine. Busy, I said, watching her carefully. How about you? Exhausting, she said, but good. We landed a big client today. She was lying so easily, like it was second nature. Marissa, I said slowly, is there anything you want to tell me? She looked at me, her expression curious. Like what? I don't know, I said. Anything important? She laughed. Dalton, you're being weird. Are you okay? I almost told her right then. Almost laid it all out. The photos, the surveillance, Drake, the money. But I held back. I'm fine, I said. Just tired. She came over and wrapped her arms around me. You work too hard, babe. You need to relax more. I stood there, her arms around me, feeling absolutely nothing. Yeah, I said. Maybe you're right. She pulled back and smiled at me. I'm going to take a bath. Long day. As she walked upstairs, I pulled out my phone and looked at one of the photos Earl had taken. Marissa and Drake, walking into that motel room together. Wednesday, the divorce papers would be filed. Friday, she'd be served. And then her entire world would fall apart. Thursday night came. I knew Marissa's pattern by now. Every Thursday, like clockwork. Earl had confirmed it one more time earlier that week. Room 118 at the Riverside Inn. 7:45, every single time. I had the divorce papers in my truck, signed and ready. Fletcher had filed them Wednesday morning. Everything was set in motion. Joint accounts frozen, business protections in place, criminal charges prepared against Drake. At 7:15, Marissa came downstairs wearing a new dress I'd never seen before. She grabbed her purse and kissed my cheek. Client dinner, Marissa said. Might be late. Drive safe, I said, not looking up from my phone. She left. I waited 10 minutes, then got in my truck and headed to the Riverside Inn. I parked 3 spaces away from Marissa's car. Drake's black Audi was already there. I sat in my truck, watching the door to room 118, waiting. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just ready to end this. At 9:30, I got out of my truck, walked across the parking lot, and knocked on the door of room 118. Housekeeping, I said. The door opened. Drake stood there, shirt unbuttoned, looking confused. Then he saw me. His face went white. Dalton, Drake said, his voice cracking. What are you? I pushed past him into the room. Marissa was sitting on the bed, wrapped in a sheet, her eyes wide with shock. Dalton, Marissa stammered, using my middle name like she always did when she was scared. What are you doing here? I pulled the divorce papers from my jacket and tossed them onto the bed next to her. You've been served, I said, my voice calm and steady. Read them. Marissa grabbed the papers with shaking hands. Her eyes scanned the pages, and I watched as the reality hit her. Divorce. Adultery grounds. Prenuptial agreement enforced. 0 claim to the house. 0 claim to the business. Dalton, no, Marissa said, her voice breaking. Please, we can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, I said. I turned to Drake, who was still standing near the door, looking like he might be sick. You're done too, Drake. Criminal charges for embezzlement are being filed tomorrow. $150,000 stolen from our company. You'll either sign over your half of the business and return every penny, or you'll go to prison. Your choice. Drake's face drained of color. I can explain. Save it, I said. Your wife Nicole will be receiving copies of these photos tomorrow, by the way. I'm sure she'll be interested to know where you've been spending your Thursday nights. You can't do this, Drake said, his voice desperate. I already did, I said. I looked back at Marissa. Everything's frozen. Bank accounts, credit cards, all of it. The house is being sold. Your car was repossessed this afternoon while you were at work. By the time you leave this motel, you'll have nothing. Marissa started crying. Dalton, please. I'm pregnant. We're having a baby. I looked at her coldly. Maybe. Or maybe it's his. Either way, you should have thought about that before you destroyed our marriage. We'll do a paternity test after the baby's born. If it's mine, I'll support the child. But you and I are done. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Don't, I said. You made your choice. Now live with it. I walked out of that room, leaving them both sitting there in the wreckage they'd created. As I walked across the parking lot, I saw Marissa's car sitting where she'd parked it. I pulled out my phone and sent a text to the towing company I'd arranged earlier. Within 20 minutes, her car would be gone. She'd walk out of that motel to find nothing. Then she'd get home to find the locks changed, the house empty, and her entire life dismantled. I got in my truck and drove away without looking back. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my office when Fletcher called. It's done, Fletcher said. Drake signed everything. He transferred his half of the business to you, returned the $150,000, and agreed to stay away from you and the company permanently. No criminal charges filed. Good, I said. Marissa's attorney tried to fight the prenup. Fletcher continued, but it's airtight. She'll get her personal belongings and nothing else. The divorce will be final in 60 days. What about the pregnancy? I asked. She's agreed to a paternity test after the birth. Fletcher said, if the child is yours, you'll have full custody rights, and she'll have supervised visitation. If it's not yours, you have no obligations. I hung up and leaned back in my chair. My brother Bryce knocked on my door frame. Hey, Dal, you got a minute? Sure, I said. What's up? Bryce sat down across from me, looking uncomfortable. I need to tell you something. About Marissa. I already knew what he was going to say. I'd seen it in his eyes for months. You were interested in her, I said. Bryce looked down. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I never acted on it. Never said anything to her. But I should have told you I had feelings. I should have kept my distance. You should have, I said. But you didn't betray me, Bryce. She did. Drake did. You kept your distance, and that's what matters. Bryce nodded, relief crossing his face. So we're good. We're good, I said. But if you ever develop feelings for someone I'm with again, you tell me. Understood. Understood, Bryce said. A month later, Marissa's mother Francine showed up at my office unannounced. I was reviewing contracts when my secretary buzzed me. Mr. Mercer, there's a Francine Holloway here to see you, she said. She doesn't have an appointment. I sighed. Send her in. Francine stormed into my office, her face red with anger. She was 63, tall and imposing, with the same features as Marissa, but hardened by years. How could you do this to my daughter? Francine demanded, not even sitting down, throwing her out, taking everything, humiliating her publicly. What kind of man are you? I stood up slowly, looking her directly in the eye. The kind of man who doesn't tolerate betrayal. I said, my voice calm but firm. Your daughter cheated on me for months. She stole my trust, lied to my face, and destroyed our marriage. I didn't do this to her. She did this to herself. She made a mistake, Francine said. Everyone makes mistakes. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk, I said. What Marissa did was calculated, deliberate, and ongoing. She planned every lie, every secret meeting. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Francine opened her mouth to argue, but I kept going. And before you blame me for being a bad husband, I said, ask yourself this. Did I ever cheat? Did I ever lie? Did I ever steal from her? No. I worked hard. I provided for us, and I was faithful. So if you want to be angry at someone, be angry at your daughter for throwing away a good thing. Francine stared at me, her mouth working, but no words coming out. Now get out of my office, I said, and don't come back. She left without another word. For months later, the divorce was finalized. The paternity test came back. The baby was Drake's, not mine. Marissa was living in a small apartment across town, working a job that paid half what she used to make. Drake's wife had divorced him too, taking the kids and most of his assets. He'd moved to another state. As for me, I bought a new house, smaller than the old one, but it was mine. The business was thriving without Drake's interference. I promoted one of my senior crew, leads to partner, someone I actually trusted. Avery stopped by one afternoon to check on me. We'd stayed in touch after everything fell apart. How are you doing? Avery asked. Better, I said honestly. It hurt, but I'm past it now. For what it's worth, Avery said, you handled this better than most men would have. You didn't fall apart. You stayed strong. I had to, I said. Falling apart wouldn't have changed anything. It just would have made me weaker. Life moved on. I learned to trust again, slowly. Learned that not everyone would betray me the way Marissa and Drake had. And I learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from someone who doesn't deserve you.